Hey gang, so we're going to do a little video on parallel and perpendicular lines. Alright, so that orange does not show up, so I'm going to change that a little bit to some different colors. So this is going to be a little Freyer model I'm going to try and throw together here, and we're going to see if we can just kind of get some understanding here. So I'm going to start off up here in this top left area here. So I'm going to start off with parallel lines. So parallel lines, what do you remember? Hopefully you already remember that parallel lines, the slopes, I'm going to call it M1 and M2. If I have two slopes and the lines are parallel, remember we've talked about this, the slopes are equal. Parallel lines, we're going to say that the slopes are the same. They're equal. All right, parallel lines. Remember, they're going to look like this. They're going to be out here going forever and ever and ever, and they're never going to touch because the slopes are equal. An example of that might look like maybe y equals 3x plus 1, and my slope would be 3. And maybe my other line might be y equals 3x, I don't know, maybe minus 1/2. And again, the slopes are the same. The slopes are both 3. These are two parallel lines, and the slopes are exactly the same. Now, the other situation we're going to look at is perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines. All right, here we go. Perpendicular lines. Now, this one's a little bit different. Perpendicular line, the slopes are not equal. These slopes are negative reciprocals. So they're going to look like this. The slope of M1, we are going to flip it. So we're going to put it over 1 and we're going to flip it. I'm going to say and. We're going to flip it. So we take it and just flip it. And we're going to make it the opposite. So if it's positive, we're going to make it negative. So this is how the slopes are going to look. They're going to be the negative reciprocal of each other. That's how you find it. Now, I like to use my TikTok analogy on this, and I'm going to call it flipping the switch. Now, you all know TikTok, and you know the little, I just flipped the switch. Well, anyway, I'm going to call it flip the switch. And you're going to flip the switch on this perpendicular lines. And when you flip the switch, well, that's how you get the perpendicular lines. Flip it and switch it. All right, how's this going to look? Well, here we go. I'm going to take 3, 4, and I'm going to flip it. Okay, if I flip 3, 4, it becomes 4/3. Now, I'm going to switch it. When I switch 4/3, it's a positive, I make it a negative. Flip it and switch it. Now we've got negative 4/3. All right, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to say 3. Okay, so I have to flip it. So I'm going to say flip it. Well, you're like, well, how do you flip 3? Well, put it over 1, and it becomes 1/3. Then I'm going to switch it. It's a positive 1/3. I'm going to make it a negative 1/3. Okay, flip it and switch it. All right, so let me give you a couple examples. So let's do 7, 8, and I'll do negative 9/2. And what I want you to do here on the end is you're going to just give me the reciprocal. Let's do 1 and then I'm going to do 0 and. Okay, so pause your video, see if you can do those real quick. I'm going to go ahead and do them. I'm going to flip 7/8. It would be 8/7. It's a positive. The reciprocal, the negative reciprocal, will be negative 8/7. Negative 9/2, I'm going to flip it and switch it. It would become a positive 2/9. 1, how do you flip it? Well, to flip it, I put it over 1. It still is 1/1, but because it's positive, I do make it negative. Now 0, how do you flip 0? Okay, I'm going to put it over 1. And when I flip it, I'm going to come over here. It becomes 1 over 0. Well, 1 over 0 is a number over 0. Oh, that says no. You can't do it. And when you have a number over 0, that is undefined. How do you know that? Like, how am I supposed to remember that? Well, remember, when you go to your calculator and you put a number divided by 0, division by 0. Okay, you can't do it. So when you have a number over 0, it is undefined. So that means that the negative reciprocal of 0, when you flip it, it's undefined. So 0 goes with undefined. That's the perpendicular. And you're like, well, how is that going to look? Well, let me show you. It's going to look like this. If you were to graph it. If you have something with a 0 slope, it might look like this. It would be a horizontal line. The reciprocal, what would be perpendicular to that, would be a vertical line. So when you have 0 and undefined, what you really have here is something that's y equals something, and then you have something here that's x equals something. You have horizontal and perpendicular. You have horizontal and vertical lines is what 0 and this is a very it's a very special case is what that is. And we're going to do that here in just a second. I'm going to actually go over there and do that. Okay, so this is parallel and perpendicular. Parallel slopes are equal. We're going to remember that. Perpendicular lines, we're going to flip it and switch it. If you can keep that straight, boom, you got this. All right, we're going to go over here. So here's what we're going to do over here. I'm going to give you a scenario, and I'm going to say, what I want to know is, are these two lines that I'm about to give you, AB and CB, this line here, are they parallel? And for parallel, we're going to put two slants. Or is AB, CB, are they perpendicular? And for perpendicular, you put an upside down T. I want to know which one are they. And they might not be either one, but we're going to see. So for AB, I'm going to give you some ordered pairs. I'm going to say that AB is formed by this ordered pair, -2, 13, and the ordered pair 0, 3. And then I'm going to tell you that CB is formed by the ordered pair -5, 0, and the ordered pair 10, 3. All right, and so I want to know, are these two, or is line AB parallel to this CB, or is it perpendicular? In order to do that, I need to figure out the slopes. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to figure out the slope of AB, and then I'm going to figure out what's the slope of CB. I need to figure these out. Once I know my slopes, then I'll know what the scenario is happening with my lines. So for AB, I'm going to do 3, this 3 right here, minus 13 over 0 minus -2. Now, why did I do that? X1, Y1, X2, Y2. I'm using that formula, Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. I'm simply using the formula for slope. All right, so anytime you have double negatives, I'm going to bump them together and make a gigantic positive. 3 minus 13 is 10 over 0 plus 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the slope is, oh, that should be a -10, so that would be a -5. So the slope of AB is -5. Okay, so there's my slope here. Now let's do this one. So that will be 3 minus 0 over 10 minus a -5. Well, double negatives are going to bump together and make a gigantic positive. So that's 3 over 15. So the slope of CB, 3 divided by 15. Well, in case you're not sure how to do that, we're going to go here. We're going to go alpha y equals, and we're going to do 3 over 15. And it tells us 1 over 5. So that is 1 over 5. All right, so we're looking at these, and we're like, okay, well, they're certainly not parallel because they're not identical. Are they flipped and switched? Well, if I flip 5, if I take negative 5 and flip it, that would be 1 over 5. Is 1 positive and 1 negative? Hey, those are flipped and switched. So that means that AB and CB are perpendicular. So I'm going to say they are perpendicular. They are flipped and switched. All right. Okay. Now let me go down here to the next one. I'm going to go down here to this bottom one. Now I want to do, if I'm looking at lines, are the lines parallel or perpendicular? So what if I have lines and I basically want to know, okay, that is not working. If I have lines, can you tell me if the lines are parallel or perpendicular? So here's my lines. 3x plus 2y equals 10, and 2x plus 3y, oh, they just reversed that, equals negative 3. I want to know, are these two lines parallel or perpendicular? Okay, well, you might be thinking, well, maybe they're parallel because, or maybe they're perpendicular because like they're just like opposite kind of. The only way to see this would be to solve each of these for y. So I'm going to move the x, and then I have to divide by the y. Okay, that's the only way to do this. So let's take 3x plus 2y equals 10. 3x plus 2y equals 10. Let's move the x, so let's move the x. So 2y equals negative 3x plus 10. And then let's divide by the y. So y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 5. Okay, so here's the first one. I can see that slope right there. My slope is negative 3 over 2. Now let's take the other one. Now we need to do 2x plus 3y equals negative 3. Move the x, divide the y. So let's move the x. Three y equals negative 2x minus 3. Divide by 3. Y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. Okay. Negative 3 over 2 and negative 2 over 3. Well, they are flipped, but they're not switched, are they? So actually, this is not parallel. It's actually neither one. This is neither. So this is not parallel, and it's not perpendicular. This is neither one. So let me show you another one. I'm going to do this. Let's do 9x, actually negative 9x, plus 12y equals 24, and y equals 3/4 x minus 5. So here's another one. Maybe I'll call this example 1 and this example 2. Example 1 was neither. This one didn't do anything. These were not the same. So this one, I can see the slope here, It is 3 over 4. But the other one I'm going to have to solve. So negative 9x plus 12y equals 24. So I'm going to move the x. Since this is a negative x, I'm going to actually add 9x to both sides. So that'll give me 12y equals 9x plus 24. And then I will divide everything by 12. And that will give me y equals 9 over 12x plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. X plus 2. Okay, so my slope is right here at 3 over 4. Oh, 3 over 4 and 3 over 4. What do you know? I would say those are parallel. So on this one, I'm going to put 2 slash marks showing that they are parallel, because the slopes are the same. Okay, so when you have lines, you have to solve for y. So you might make a note up here that says solve for y equals mx plus b. That's the only way to do it. You must solve for y. Up here, we had to use the formula, right? Up here, we had to use our formula. Now, I have one last one to show you, and that is down here, and this goes back to this undefined and zero slope. That is, what if you have a horizontal and a vertical line? Okay, these are special cases. Okay. In this scenario, this is where you have hoy and you have bucks. You have this scenario. So let's say you have y equals negative 2 and x equals 3. So what I would recommend is that you graph them. And I'm going to graph them in 2 different colors. Y equals negative 2. So that would be down here. So this is y equals negative 2. X equals 3 would be over here. This would be x equals 3. When you have that scenario, these make a perpendicular line. Okay, so when you have opposite variables, x and a y, you get perpendicular lines. So when you have opposite variables, you have perpendicular lines. My boys are about to walk in the door. They're probably going to be really loud. And I'm almost done with my video. I wonder if I could pause it before they walk in. I hear them coming. Here they come. They're going to be loud. Maybe they won't. Okay, so then we're going to do one more graph. And we're going to do this one right here. What if I have x equals 4 and x equals, we'll say, 6? Okay, so I'm going to graph each of these. If x equals 4, it might be right here. We'll call this x equals 4. And then if I have x equals 6, it might be right here. And this would be x equals 6. These two lines would be parallel. So I'll put the parallel line sign right there. Oh, I didn't put this right here. This would be perpendicular. So when the variables are the same, variables the same, this means parallel lines. Now, it works the same as if you had two y's. If these were both y's, you would have parallel y lines. So if we have two x's, they're parallel. If you have two y's, they are parallel. All right, and that kind of sums up just a little bit about parallel and perpendicular lines. I'm going to zoom out on this to kind of put this whole thing underneath here for you so you can kind of see it. And I hope that gives you some good information on parallel and perpendicular lines.